Welcome back to The Explainer. So, today we are tackling a massive blind spot for anyone deploying AI in highly regulated fields. We're talking pharmaceuticals, medical devices, financial services, you name it. We're going to deconstruct and, frankly, completely shatter a concept that the entire tech industry is relying on right now. We are taking down the myth of the human in the loop.
Look, right out of the gate, we've got to ask a really fundamental question. Does a human signature actually make an AI's output safe? Across the corporate world, the absolute gold standard for AI governance is having a smart, highly trained human read the AI's output, check it, and sign off on it. We treat this human in the loop as a binary gate, right? A foolproof safety net. But today, we're going to dive into some fascinating research that shows exactly why this widely accepted industry standard is fundamentally broken.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start by exposing verification theater. Then, we'll get into the psychology of why smart reviewers fail, the actual mechanics of how AI tricks us, how to successfully re-engineer this broken loop, and finally, how to measure true AI safety.
All right, part 1, the verification theater, the illusion of safety. We really need to understand that this current illusion of compliance is creating massive, dangerous blind spots in high-stakes environments. Here's the deal. When a human reviewer sits down to check an AI document, they are usually just performing the procedural motions of review, completely missing the cognitive substance of review. What does that actually mean? Well, it means they read it, they nod, and they sign their name. Boom. It satisfies the regulatory checklist perfectly, but mentally, they haven't actually applied any independent judgment. They haven't actively hunted for errors. They are basically just actors in a play, creating an audit trail that looks a lot like safety, but is completely hollow. So part 2, why human reviewers fail, the psychology. To understand why brilliant scientists, engineers, and experts fall into this trap over and over, we have to look inside the human brain. Why are they missing glaring AI errors?
It all boils down to automation bias. This is our psychological tendency to just blindly trust a computer's suggestion, even when it's dead wrong, and even when we have contradictory information sitting right in front of us. Think about literally driving your car straight into a lake because the GPS screen told you to. That is automation bias in action. In an enterprise setting, an auditor might look at an AI-generated risk report that completely misinterprets a data table that they wrote themselves just last week. But because the machine generated it so confidently, they just assume the machine must be right. And here's the scary part. Automation bias doesn't just weaken our verification controls incrementally. It completely inverts them. The human isn't managing the AI anymore. The AI is subtly managing the human.
This failure comes down to what's called the cognitive miser theory. Basically, our brains are inherently lazy. They love defaulting to the path of least resistance. True verification, that is hard work. It requires holding the AI's claim in your working memory, digging through source material, and independently reconstructing the truth from scratch. But recognition? Oh, recognition is incredibly easy. You just glance at the text and ask yourself, does this look like a correct answer should look? If it sounds professional, our brains unconsciously swap out the hard work of verification for the super easy feeling of recognition. And the crazy thing is, the electronic signature applied at the end of the process looks exactly the same either way. And what makes this even worse is that enterprise AI systems are explicitly designed to hack our recognition heuristic. When an AI shows you a 99% confidence score, or formats its answer in beautiful corporate headers, or generates a really convincing step-by-step explanation, your brain immediately lets its guard down. Even just in the mere presence of citations shifts a reviewer's job from, is this fact actually true, to, oh, hey, there's a citation there, looks good to me. The design of the AI actively disarms our critical thinking. Moving on to part 3, how AI tricks us, the mechanics. We know the psychology now, but how do these modern AI systems structurally exploit those cognitive vulnerabilities we just talked about? Well, there are several specific failure modes that trap human reviewers every single day. Take citation laundering, for instance. This is when the AI attaches a real citation to a claim that the source doesn't actually support. Imagine an AI drafting a medical summary and citing a real clinical trial to claim a drug is safe for pregnant women, when the actual trial explicitly excluded pregnant women. Reviewers miss it because they just check if the link works, not if the source actually proves the specific sentence. Then you've got context omission, where the AI just quietly leaves out crucial, nuanced information. If an AI summarizes a complex legal contract but secretly leaves out the penalty clause, a reviewer will almost certainly miss it because they only read the beautifully written summary. They don't see what the AI secretly ignored. A human reviewer simply cannot verify what they cannot see. No amount of diligence can fix an invisible error.
Which brings us to part 4, re-engineering the loop, the solution.
If the human in the loop is currently just verification theater, how do we fix it? How do we build a system that actually protects us? We absolutely have to move away from relying on a single sign-off gate at the very end of the process and adopt a Swiss cheese model of human reliability engineering. That requires 4 distinct tiers of control. Tier 1 is pre-generation controls. This means locking down the exact databases and verified documents the AI is even allowed to look at before it starts thinking. Tier 2 is in-pipeline controls. This happens while the AI is actively generating the response, mathematically constraining its logic step by step. Tier 3 is post-generation controls, where we finally bring in the human review but under vastly improved cognitive conditions. And Tier 4 is continuous monitoring, where the whole system is constantly audited for drift and new failure modes over time. You have to stack these layers together, because any single layer on its own will inevitably fail. But the absolute game changer in this model is Tier 2. To fix the psychology of the reviewer, we have to fundamentally change what the reviewer is actually looking at. We must stop handing reviewers highly polished, beautifully written AI narratives. Instead, the pipeline needs to extract the data into claim evidence pairs. You force the human to look at a raw claim side by side with the exact highlighted sentence from the source document that supposedly proves it. You are turning an unstructured reading task into a highly structured auditing task. It forces verification and entirely strips away that easy path of recognition.
Now, a lot of companies think, well, if one reviewer misses things, we'll just require 2 reviewers, the 4I principle. But think about it. If 2 reviewers are looking at the exact same beautifully formatted AI output under the exact same time pressure, they are just going to make the exact same correlated mistakes. Effective review requires differing scrutiny. One reviewer should look at the claim evidence pairs, while the other looks at the narrative. You have to vary the cognitive conditions, or that second signature is just paying for more theater.
Let's wrap this up with part 5, measuring true AI safety, the takeaway. Because you really cannot govern what you do not measure. And right now, almost everyone is measuring the wrong thing. Most organizations are totally obsessed with measuring AI accuracy. They continuously ask their vendors, how accurate is the model? Does it get it right 95% of the time? But honestly, that is the wrong question for a regulated industry. The vital shift is to measuring human detection effectiveness. The question you actually need to be asking your team is, how effective is our human workforce at catching the mistakes the AI is inevitably going to make? And to figure that out, you need to track metrics like the false acceptance rate. The only way to truly measure this is through error injection testing. That means your QA team deliberately sneaks known errors, hallucinations, and bad citations into AI-generated documents and casually passes them to reviewers during their normal workday. Do they catch the fake errors, or do they blindly sign off? Measuring this false acceptance rate, alongside how often humans actually override the AI, is the only way to combat reviewer complacency. For executives, running this test is often a massive wake-up call. It proves mathematically that their supposed safety net is full of holes.
I want to leave you with one specific number today: 0. 0 is the exact amount of protection provided by adding a procedural review step that doesn't fundamentally change the reviewer's cognitive conditions. If you just add another checkbox without changing the interface or the psychology, you have added absolutely 0 safety. Which leaves us with this final thought. AI is an incredible tool, absolutely, but it is currently hacking our natural desire to just take the easy way out. So I want to challenge you. The very next time you are asked to review an AI output at work, ask yourself honestly, are you actually verifying it, or are you just recognizing it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay focused out there and keep asking the hard questions.